So welcome. This is our second week of this series, Unstuck on Purpose. And the intention is not that you completely change your life. No, it is more about you having the opportunity to make slight changes towards your own purpose. So it is a slight shift from possibly automatic reactions you may have to very intentional responses. So instead of saying, I can't help it, I don't know what to do, give yourself some space for you to take another choice, another decision, even under pressure. I would like to come back to what we did last week. And last week, you experienced this so-called compass test, and you rated 4 life domains, 4 meaning your work, your relationships, your body and health state, and your contribution or impact to society. You also named your personal why now in the lowest scoring area. And then you chose, and hopefully you had the opportunity to do so, you chose one small 1 degree shift you made during last week. So for today, I would like you to keep this compass in mind, because now we are going to work with your reactions. So sometimes our inner buttons get really pressed when we get at certain times during the day, or even during the evening after the working day has ended, we receive still a request, and this triggers a stress within our body, and we fall back to our very fast habits. So today it's about creating this little tiny space between trigger and reaction. So we know it when we are in autopilot, when we are under pressure, we don't have time for long reflections and we simply react, sometimes even very instinctively. This is not a character flaw. This is happening to everyone. It is still going to happen despite the fact that you are going to take some decisions today, define clear intentions. It may still happen. We are just human. So this little story here might ring inside. You are in the evening, you are at home, you start relaxing. Nevertheless, you have your mobile in your hand, or you are in front of your laptop, and you see a message dropping from your boss. And I chose this little story because this is something I experienced a lot when I was still working as a finance executive for an international organization quoted at the stock exchange. So deadlines were absolutely essential. There was no way you could say, I'm going to do this later, because the figures had to be provided to the stock exchange on time. Just to give you an idea, at the end of every quarter, on the second day of the next quarter, all the figures had to be delivered. And during the last years, I have more than 10 organizations under my responsibility as far as finance was concerned. So you feel the pressure. You are in the evening, you want to relax, and you receive this message. And you know what you say, you just do it. And the next morning, yes, you don't feel so well. And sometimes even also upset. And I have to say, I experienced this. I experienced being upset, not being happy at all. But today we are going to try to initiate very small shifts within ourselves. And why? Because it is a necessity to really put something extremely clearly within our mind and also within our body. And this is something very simple I'd like to propose. It is also science-backed, as this is something I learned when I was researching for this session today. And the formula goes like this. If X happens, then I will do Y. By the way, I can tell you that even now, no longer being in such an organization and working on my own, there are still situations which can trigger this kind of reaction. And this formula is going to turn something which is not precise within yourself, which is more like a vague wish, into something different, into a concrete action your brain can then follow. And I also would like to precise what is an intention. And here I also refer to universal wisdom. An intention is a conscious thought. And in universal wisdom, we say that a conscious thought is a thought expressed out of the energy center in the middle of our forehead. So it is extremely strong. It is energy at work. So the first step I propose is that you identify a specific trigger. If I come back to the previous example, that would be the first one here on this slide. You receive a work message late in the evening, or there is someone who is raising her or his voice. I can tell you, I hate this totally. I do not appreciate people speaking loudly. Or when you feel your chest tightening. The chest tightening is always a very good signal that something is not in accordance with your inner peace. So you may have another kind of trigger, and I would invite you to write it down. And then the second step is defining another kind of reaction or response. And again, it must not be something big. It must be something very realistic and which you can indeed implement when you feel under stress. So the examples I am giving here are fairly simple, yet they do work. I take one slow breath before I answer. Expressed differently, we can also say, I take or I allow myself a couple of seconds before I answer. And this little pause will have not only an impact on yourself, but also possibly on the other people or on the person who have become loud. Another example, you say, I let me come back to you on this. So you give yourself some space. This is also something we can say to a customer, to a client, not only to our colleague or to a boss. And the third one is something more in your body. When you feel this pressure, when you feel you are going to react again instinctively, very fast, change your body position. Put your 2 feet firmly on the ground and soften your body position. This gives you strength and space. And the third step in these propositions of today are like this. If you get a work request after 8:30, then I will answer. I will look at this tomorrow morning. And most of the time, this is being understood. If you are not in the position I was a few years back, I should say, in this international organization, and deadlines were absolutely key. The second position, if I feel my jaw tighten, and this happens, and we even see it on the face of other people, then I will relax my shoulders. I will take this other position, body position, and ask a question to clarify. And also when you observe that some people might be scrolling instead of listening, or even if you do it yourself, instead of resting, instead of coming back to your center, you are with your mobile, scrolling at posts, videos, not bringing you anything valuable in your life. Become aware of that. Stand up, move, drink a glass of water, and then start something more beneficial for you and your life. And this very little practice, a so-called embodied practice, what does it mean, embodied practice? It means that you really do it and experience it so that your body registers. So whenever you feel a trigger, being in your professional life or in your private life, take a first breath and you notice. And then again, you change your body position. You put your feet firmly on the floor and you say inside, I notice I am being activated. I am getting stressed. In the second breath, you soften and you relax your body. You relax your jaws. You relax your whole position. And with the third one, you choose and ask, what is one tiny wise move I can make right now? And you respond. The 3 breath reset. This can be done anywhere, during any meeting, also in a conversation, even with friends. Also friends can trigger us, sometimes more than we would love to. And even family members, dear ones. So one reflection, where do I lose myself fastest? Where in my life do I lose myself fastest? In automatic reactions. Is it a person? Is it a situation? Or is it a certain time during the day? Simply reflect. And now I'd like you to take one commitment for this week. You choose one trigger and you write one if, and then you sentence for it. So take your time, reflect briefly, and write down. Everyone has triggers. Which is the most triggering you may have, which is the most element which trigger these fast reactions which are not beneficial for you. And then you sentence and take a decision. What will you do? How will you change your position? How will you act next time it does happen? And habits are repeated. Little changes like this. For something to really being embodied, one should experience 21 days in a row. I'd like to propose these very poetic quotes for this week. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself. And the second one is the only journey is the one within. So these tiny little changes, I propose you to decide on today and to implement during this week and hopefully the weeks after. They are maybe tiny, but with time, they can bring a lot of well-being within yourself. And I'd like to propose also something different today. And I'd like to read an extract from books titled Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East by Baird T. Spalding. In my opinion, this also relates to purpose. So I start and I quote, "It is through the power of our mind or thought action that we are able to bring forth or realize the divine inner wisdom. Through the power or process of thought, we can transmute and evolve our bodies or our outer conditions and surroundings. Through recognition of this divine inner wisdom within ourselves, so that we will never experience death nor any change called death. This is done wholly through man's power to visualize, idealize, conceive, and bring forth that which he gazes upon. This is the first knowing or perceiving of having faith that the wisdom is within ourselves." It continues, but I'd like to stop here. Why, for me, does it refer to purpose? He speaks of divine inner wisdom. In universal wisdom, what I experienced during my journeys and trainings is this. It is that purpose is our so-called primary material principle, and it does originate from our purified state of being, which is also our totality. Unstuck on purpose, on purpose. On purpose means that we really truly live this energy, this principle, which is embedded within us day after day, truthfully, authentically, and our acts, this is what we see outside, are an expression of this purpose, which carries us through life. It is when we move away from that path that we become stuck. We will continue the journey next week. So I look forward to seeing you again to explore much, much deeper, very powerful processes and rituals. You may wish to join Radiant Vitality, which is mid-February and end of March, or Power Ignited and Personal Mastery, which is in March. But right now, just for now this week, I would like you to stay with your one trigger and your one new choice. And this is already very powerful. See you next week. Thank you. This is the expression of my gratitude to share this with you, and hopefully you benefit from it and you implement. And we continue next week with another topic for Unstuck on Purpose.